volume a little bit. Alrighty. Let me just adjust it. I want it so loud where it hurts my ears.
I still have a little bit of a cough, so I'll try to, I don't know, mute myself maybe if I feel like I'm gonna have a cough attack.
Whatever you want to do. But I mean, we can start. I mean, like I said, we just dive right in.
Okay.
All right. Well, I mean, I know obviously we had our phone call, so if you want, you can kind of say what you do again.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a career and business coach. I predominantly work with women who are mid to senior level executives who are looking to move up or out of their careers. I come from a big corporate background. I worked for some of the top media companies, working with Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies in sales and marketing, and native New Yorker who moved from New York City to Santa Monica, California about almost 10 years ago, and it's been quite the journey. And so that's a little bit about me.
Dang, I know you said California, but dang, it's not Santa Monica. So you said you were near the pier, right? Santa
Yeah,
Monica Pier.
I'm a mile 0.2 from the pier.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. But what's great
Yeah.
about that story, and I was just sharing that the other day, I think I did a live on it on Instagram, is that 10 and a half years ago, I used to come here for business a lot. I used to come to this exact neighborhood for business right around downtown Santa Monica. I would stay in the hotels right in downtown Santa Monica. My office was in the downtown Santa Monica area. And I used to say, wow, it must be amazing to live here. And then one day asked me, what's a big dream of yours? And I was like, a big dream of mine would have been to live in this amazing neighborhood, see palm trees every day, and have the ocean right in front of me. And 5 months after I stated that, right, 5 months after somebody asked me the question and I said it out loud, I was already living here. So anything that we're speaking, right, gets to become a reality if we really desire that. So negative or positive, like I always tell people, words have currency. Choose the right words and you'll make it happen.
Exactly. And how just expensive is California? I mean, I've been there, but it was like years.
Yeah, I couldn't, I mean, it really is, I don't know. I mean, it's relative to anywhere else, I guess, but I don't think of it as an expensive place because I come from New York. So, it's kind of like you have the salary, you find the right places, and it really, I feel like that's such an interesting, like people talk about it. Yes, sure, it might be one of the most expensive places to live in the country, and it has its ups and downs, but at the same time, it's like, if it's a place that you really want to be at, like you'll make it happen. So it's like, I grew up in New York. I didn't have a choice, right? And everybody says, oh my God, New York is so expensive. I'm like, but for me, it's just New York. So when I moved here, I actually had double the budget I had was double of what I actually needed to move here, because here it's just like I don't have to pay for parking here where I live. I don't have to drive to an office. You know what I mean? Like there's just differences that you have. So,
It's so different because when I hear people say, "Well, I have to pay for parking," I'm like, here in Nebraska, not a single place that I've been you've had to pay for parking unless if it's downtown. Other than that, I don't know anywhere else that I have to pay for parking. And what else? Same with like obviously from being Nebraskan, with the whole being expensive, because I know like when the whole gas prices were going up and they were god awfully insane. I thought 4.89 was expensive because that's what it was here. And when I was seeing California and New York hitting 6, 7, 8, I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Come from where I'm come from. It's cheap for me. I mean, right now it's average is $269.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't have an electric vehicle, so I can't. I can't drive in style in that one, but
right. Yeah.
But I mean, hey, and but yes. So with how you said with like women, you know, like, helping them move up or out and
Yeah.
whatnot, um, what would be like what would be one of the first steps you would teach them?
Yeah, that's great. I actually just did that on my Instagram also. I did a little like mini tutorial. And I think for anyone, whether you're starting out in your career or you're moving up and you're a senior level executive and you have a certain specific title or role that you want, I'm telling everybody to grab that job description. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can Google it, you can Google job description for almost anything that you want to be doing. And then I would look at it and say, okay, how many of these qualities or skill sets do I have? How many years of experience do I have? And then I would make sure that your resume aligns with that, right? So it aligns with that job position, it aligns with that description, so that then you're basically taking exactly what somebody might be looking for that role, all the, the
Mm-hmm.
specifications, and you're adding it to your own personal resume. You also want to look at it from the perspective of, you also want to look at it from the perspective of like, if there's things in that job description that you don't really want to be doing, right? Because I think sometimes people over glamorize like a role, a job, a company, and think, oh, it's going to be so great to work there. But then when they look at the job description, it's like everything that they don't want to be doing. And so then that's a great way to kind of just look at that and say, well, is this the actually the role, or what would that role be of the things that I actually like to do and that I'm good at and that I have a lot of skill set in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then, you can also use it, like, thirdly, you can also use it as kind of like a guiding system, right? Like your GPS to that life that you want to create. And so that's not just like doing something like that is not just for if you're going to go and trade your time for money and go work at a company, but it's also like when you're looking at entrepreneurs or influencers, anything like that, to model what they're doing in the world also.
Mm-hmm. Because I know, just like how you said with over glamorizing careers, like because like where I'm from, again, what's glamorized a lot from women is nursing. Anything really, mainly anything to do in the medical field, but mainly nursing.
Hmm.
Where almost of all in Nebraska, what I've seen, either nursing or in the dentistry field, and um, and again, I mean, you may look at the pay looks nice, or maybe just it's the title that sounds nice when you can go to someone and say, "Oh yeah, I'm an RN," or "I'm this," or "I'm that," and people can be like, "Oh, what? That's like," you're like, "Oh wow," but then when you look in descriptions, you're like, maybe that 1% that you see looks good, but then when you really look at it, you're like, "Oh my god, this
It's intense. Well, and
that's
especially after the last 2 years or 3 years that we've had, right? Like, it was one of the
Mhm,
worst places and the worst, frontliners, we appreciate you so much and think that it's amazing that you chose these careers, but it's also was like the hardest career to be in over these last few years. And, a lot of people ended up realizing that it wasn't that the best jobs to be in, right? And I think the other thing that we can get into trouble with is, and I know it happened for me many years ago, is that we become defined by like the companies that we work for, that I could
mhm,
say that I worked for. I mean, and some of the names that I prefer not to share them at this point. People can go to my LinkedIn or whatever to find that. But it's like I was defined by those amazing companies that I worked for. It was like, oh, you work at blah 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 and blah blah blah. And it's like, that's not who I am. That's who I work for. And
mhm,
that's the other thing. It's like, even in the whole like influencer space and entrepreneurs and all that stuff, it's like, who are you really following? The ones that are showing all the bling, or the ones that actually have multiple commas in their bank account? So because you could
but
posture anything you want and you can make anything look amazing, but at the same
mhm,
time, it's like, what are you really trying to accomplish? And I think that's the other big thing is people are people get to be really clear about what's the life that you want to be living. Like, what does your ideal day look like, right? Like, I've had clients tell me that they want to wake up and, have a morning that they're taking a walk on the beach and walking their dogs and having coffee and talking to their partner about, their goals and their dreams, and they don't have to worry about clocking in or checking into an office or driving in traffic, and they can start their day at 11, end by 3, pick up their kids, and everybody sits down and has dinner at the table, right? So I'm always trying to get people to really think about those kinds of things too, because both, yes, a job with a great salary can satisfy that, but also to create the freedom that you're looking for, most likely is not going to come from working at a job.
Yeah, that's really what I say. Because I guess like what you said with about the whole, when me working at Walmart, they're like, "Oh, you work at Walmart," like, and scratching that part, but like when you're working a salary, whether it be hourly or a true salary, however you see it, however you want to define it, like, and I will see people out and about, like how you said, walking their dogs. I'm like, I wish I was doing what they were doing, and you talk to some of them, and none of them are working a salary. Like, some are entrepreneurs, some are
Yeah.
just working for themselves. And I'm like, oh well, that must be nice, but at the same time, people want that life. But then when it comes to the work, they realize, oh, it took this person 5 years to finally do this, or 10 years to finally do this, and then
Yeah.
they're like, I don't know if I really want to be doing that. And it's like,
Right.
well, if that's the life you want, you're gonna have to work for it. That's why, like, social media, it's fake as hell. A lot of people that are flexing their bling, flexing everything. You look in their background, you realize they're not as great as they think, what they say they are.
Yeah.
And especially when it's just more flexing than actually proving anything, then it's like, okay, like, the person's a scammer. And
Well,
and
I mean,
and
I
then
don't
you try to replicate it, and
yeah, I mean, I don't, whatever we can just, I mean, I think the point is that really people get to decide, like, do they want to put in the work for the lifestyle that they're looking to do, or are they just looking to, have it be easier and just, get a paycheck? You know what I mean? I think that, again, I don't think anybody has, anybody can stand behind any excuses that they can't find information, or that they don't know something, or that they can't figure out something, when you have the World Wide Web out there that's been around for quite some time, really sharing, and that you could do your due diligence, right? And do the research. So on both hands, whether it's the company that you want to work for, or, a great, a business person who's an entrepreneur who's created a lot of, abundance in every area of their life, it's like you get to do your due diligence and not just follow like the shiny object syndrome. You know what I mean? But I think there's a lot of good out there too, because more people than not have the opportunity to do whatever, from whatever situation that you're in, you can decide to make something happen. And that's just bottom line. That's just
exactly. And what would you not just like women in general, just
yeah.
anyone in general, for people who are struggling, like, with certain set skills, like, let's say what they want to do, let's say,
Yeah.
like, in this case, speaking,
Yeah.
let's say they are very, very shy in speaking,
Yeah.
or like math, or any skill that whatever career they want to do, they
Yeah.
lack in, but they wanted, even
Yeah.
they've seen it, they've been on, let's say they've kind of what's that called, like shadowing, like the
Yep.
job shadow type of thing.
Apprentice.
Yeah, like apprenticeship
Uh-huh.
and whatnot. Like, they've seen it, they want it, but they lack in a certain skill that is very critical in
Yeah.
that area.
Yeah.
Like, how
Yeah.
do you, like, what would you
I
tell
mean,
someone? Or
practice. It's like anything. It's practice, right? It's like you
Mhm.
just get to practice it. You get to practice it all day, every day, 100 hours a day, like whatever it looks like. It's just, I don't necessarily, like, I'm just kind of trying to think, like, I think I was talking about this the other day, that there's like this in New York. I don't know if they have it anywhere else, or if people hear about it anywhere else, but I grew up with the Harlem Globetrotters, right?
Or
So
the
the
Harlem
Harlem
Globetrotters?
Globetrotters are like a performance basketball team,
Mhm.
and basically their home base is Madison Square Garden. I would see them every year, multiple times a year, and it was great. And I'm almost positive I either read or heard this story, and I could be making it up, but everybody can Google it, it's out there. But I'm almost positive that I heard about this guy that's like under 5 feet, and he wanted to be a Harlem Globetrotter. And everybody was like, you can't do, like, you don't even have the physical qualities to become that, right? But remember, the Harlem Globetrotters is based on performance too. Like, it's more kind of like a caricature. It's not a real basketball team. It's about the athleticism. It's about the tricks that they do. It's about, like just making the crowd, hyping the crowd and all that stuff. And so he just went out and practiced every day, different tricks, different things that he can do that some of his tall counterparts can't do because of their stature, right? So it's
Mhm.
always like finding what's your superpower in what you believe to be that limiting like skill set, right? So I know plenty of people who are painfully shy, but are some of the best public speakers. Like, honestly, I tell people this all the time. I'm like, I am actually an introvert. Like, I don't really like to go to networking events. I really don't like to like do one-on-one I don't chit chat. So I'm not a chit chatter. Like, I don't like, that's just not my vibe. But if you put me in front of on a stage in front of 10,000 people, I have no problem. Like, I just walk up there and I'm just like, okay, like I'll like just get up and teach and train and talk because it's actually what I love to do. But I don't like, and my core group of friends and like colleagues and counterparts is very small. Like, it is micro small. And I'm like, it's because I'm not actually as extroverted as people think I am. And it's really funny because people don't believe me. And I'm like, you can be an introverted extrovert because I can do one thing, but then the other thing, it's like, oh, I get to also be now coaching is one thing. As long as I'm teaching and I'm coaching and I'm mentoring and you know what I mean? Like, there's a dialogue
Mhm.
happening, I'm great. But filling empty space, I can't. Like, I'm just like, sorry.
mean, that's how sometimes I can be too. I mean, depending, like you put me, because I've been like this all high school too.
Yeah.
Like in the stands, like during like the women's basketball games and whatnot. You wouldn't see me all running around, trying to try just be very extroverted, talking to all these groups. You'd see me just by myself, sitting on the bench watching the game, and
Yeah. Yeah.
with the water on my side, or maybe checking my phone during
Yeah.
timeouts. One, I really I wouldn't have anyone, and then when someone is genuinely interested in talking and they're listening, and I talk to them, I talk and I talk, and because I'm
Yeah.
genuinely interested of that they want to hear, and I talk, and then we just have a
Yes.
simple conversation,
Yeah.
and people are like, "You talk a lot." I'm like, "Well, if you actually see me, I'm very introvert. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
on my day off from work, I prefer to be in the apartment
Yeah.
relaxing than out and about hanging out with people.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. Yeah.
I barely have any friends.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
like, but again, it's just because I'm introverted. Like I'm not.
Well, and I think here's the other thing too, right? Because I think for me, definitely there's that introverted part of who I am, but it's also like the quality of the friendships and the colleagues that I have is really high.
Mhm,
Right. So it's like I'm also not just spending time with anybody, right? Like just anybody. Like, I really want to be in groups of people or one-on-one with people who it's a dialogue, who we can have conversations with, that it's a back and forth. It's a flow that's happening, right? And I think instead of, it's like I used to have that thing of like, oh, well, I don't really have a lot of friends. And it's like, well, no, I have really deep friendships. So that's the difference in that part of it too, because then that means that you are much more discerning also.
mhm,
So I don't need 150,000 people around me anymore. I just have a really core group I've discerned that they match my energy, they match my core values, they match my growth process, like my personal development, where I'm going and where I want to go, and they support that and I support theirs. So that's something that I think as like as you're kind of navigating life, you get to really turn the like I don't look at my being introverted as a negative thing as much as I look at it as a discerning thing. And I think that's a really high quality to have,
mhm,
right? I don't look at not having a lot of friends as a negative thing. I look at it as I'm very discerning with who I do have around me, because then I know that it's like, oh, I can be 100% myself. I don't have to try so hard. We can have really fun conversations. I can have a good time. It's like I don't feel weird. And when I do, I leave. right? Like and I'm meeting new people all the time.
Mhm.
But it's like, okay, it just doesn't match, but it's like without judgment. And I think removing any judgment from anything that you're doing gives you more space to have like a well-rounded experience no matter where you are. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, it's you have to be authentic. You just have to be authentic. You have to be yourself. I mean, you can't try to with people who are very introverted. They can't try to fake being someone else because it will not work.
No.
Because
Yeah,
it
no.
because if you're very introverted but you want to be like that guy who loves to talk, who is just out and about, who everyone knows because of he's just very talkative, like he's out and about, whatever. And you try to be like that guy, you're not gonna come off the greatest. I mean, it's no,
Yeah.
it's very hard to try to match try to be someone else when that's not you.
Yeah. It's also
And
creepy.
yeah, true, very very true.
It's also creepy. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know I forgot who said it. I don't know if it was in like some sort of tech talk or a book or something. Something about usually the people who are the quietest, like have like I won't say the most knowledgeable, but some do like being the most dangerous because they're very observant, and
Mhm.
so like they can kind of like get that type of information like through that way too, and
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
I can be too. But
Yeah. Yeah.
as you can see, I mean, sometimes it can be very awkward, but hey.
It's all good. It's all good.
But I do see on your website, for an action plan, Life
Yeah.
2.0, crazy
Yeah.
action plan. Can you
Tell us
explain
about that.
explain
Yeah,
that one?
sure. Yeah. So I think one of the things that I think when I was early on in my career, a lot of the tips that I'm sharing, that I shared earlier were some of the things that I did, right? So that's great. And then as I started to advance in my career and kind of, also decide, well, what kind of a life do I want to live? It was me going and hiring a coach and going and taking different courses and going to different workshops and things that I was starting to learn that it's not just like we get to actually write out our plan. It's almost like our business plan for our life. But what are the questions that we get to ask ourselves? Right. So I think a lot of the times people get stuck because they think that they need to know exactly what that thing is. But in reality, it's not even knowing what the thing is. It's really knowing like, well, how do you want to feel? Right. Like I wanted more freedom in my life. I wanted to be able to live by the beach and go take a walk in the morning for 2.5 hours if I feel like it, right? Like
Mhm,
that's what I wanted to do. But then in the action plan, what you're really doing is answering a few of those questions for yourself so that you can really start opening up like your truest desires. It's like, oh, so, how do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning and what do you want to be doing? As simple as that question is, a lot of people don't ask themselves that, right?
mhm,
What kind of income do you really believe that you would need or want to live that lifestyle that you're looking to create? And my answer to that question and your answer to that question is going to be vastly different, right? When I say what I want for to my mom, like if I ask that question to my mom, she's like, oh, well, you just need enough. And well, that's not a clarity question, or that's not a clarity answer. And
mhm,
so for me, it's like I'm really specific about where I want to be on a monthly level in terms of my finances because of the life that I want to live and the contribution that I want to make in my life. And I think when you go and you create a plan for yourself, so it's like great. I mean, I think it's always great when I have these kinds of conversations with young people like you, but I think also women in their 40s, 50s, or men in their 40s and 50s who have never done something like this and get to do this now, like you can still make the second half the best half of your life if you create the plan that you can then follow. And it's like, is it that it's going to be letter to letter? No, it's that you have a direction, right? It's the same way you put in an
mhm,
address into Waze, right? And you put the GPS in, and it's like, if there's traffic, it's going to take you on a different route. It's the same thing that happens in your life. It's like you can have a plan. You can be like, you know what? I want to, like, I was just talking to a client of mine, she and her husband are moving across the globe. They want to retire by the time they're 40 years old. They want to have multiple homes. They're just now starting this journey, but it's because they now have a plan, right?
mhm,
They decide, well, why do you want to retire at 40? Well, you want to retire at 40 because I want to be able to travel the rest of the world. You know, I was just talking to another friend who her parents did that. They came from another country and they came here and they built the American dream. And their American dream was we can retire by the time we're 40 and travel the whole entire planet. And a lot of people don't think that that's possible, but it's because they never ask themselves the questions so that they have their own action plan.
Okay, how I see it, in order to have a plan in life, whatever it may be, whatever you want to do, but I feel like life, not career, but just in life, you have to find the why. You have to find purpose.
Oh,
Purpose,
for sure.
and if you can't, because if you keep asking, if someone asks you, what do you want to be in life? What do you want to do in life? Whatever, and they say, I want to be yada yada yada. Okay, so why do you want to do it? Oh, because it looks cool. Well, why does it look cool? Oh, because you do this. Well, why do you want to do that? And you just keep asking the whys until it finds a purpose, and then it goes back to, okay, you want to do it for this reason. You're starting to finally find the purpose for this reason. Now, how do you get there? And
Yeah.
when it comes creating the plan. Okay, how do you get there?
Yeah.
And can't find the how. Keep asking yourself why. Then start looking
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And then once you keep finding more and more purpose, you start finding more reasons on the why part. You can then probably start creating somewhat of the how,
Yeah.
and then realize, you know what, maybe I can start doing this. That's what
Yeah.
happened with me
Yeah.
with wanting to be a millionaire by the age of 30.
Yeah.
I was just that kid that said I want to do it.
Yeah.
Never had a plan, just I wanted to do it
Yep.
until I kept finding the whys, and then I finally found the purpose on why I wanted to do it. And I said, okay, I finally found why. How do I do it? And that's what a lot of people struggle, because when it comes to obviously wanting to travel the world, like retiring early, it's not only the why, but it's like, how are you going to do it? And if you don't have the plan, if you say, well, I want to do it, but I don't really know how, and so I'm just going to move up with the company. I'm just going to stick to college, get the group degree, and move up. I'm like, you're not, depending on the career and how much you're getting paid, you're not gonna go there, because you're only following that one path,
Yeah.
and that one path is only gonna lead you to one direction. And it's
Yeah.
like retire by like 60, 65, depending on how you
Yeah.
do it, uh, and sometimes you gotta be the lone shark.
Well, and
Everyone takes that one path, and
I'm gonna actually challenge that, right? Because I think, we call it in like the space that I'm in now, lone wolfing. And it
Mhm,
really, we're not meant to be a lone wolf, right? I
mhm,
think that once you have your action plan and once you have your purpose, and I believe a why is absolutely, critical for us to be able to move through life and navigate what we want. And even the how is not our problem, because the thing is that ultimately, when we find those people who have done that thing that we want to be doing, that's when we start integrating ourselves into communities that have people that have like minds, right? And that's why I think, you'll see what these like people that it looks like they're overnight successes. Well, they're not. They went and they got the coaching and the mentoring, and they learned from people who are actually doing it. I mean, that's the whole reason why I even do what I do and have the work and be able to build the business that I have, is because people saw me moving
mhm,
across the country. They saw me going from company to company and increasing my salary by a lot. Like, I mean, I was increasing my salary by a salary. You know what I mean? So it's like going
mhm,
from 100 to 200, going from 200 to 300. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not one of
mhm,
those, I like can't even imagine getting a 2% raise, right? And no judgment on anybody who has a job and gets a 2% raise, but that just wasn't my path. But then when I became an entrepreneur, it was like, well, I know how to do corporate, and I know how to navigate salaries, and I know how to climb the corporate ladder. But did I know how to build a business? No. Was I in business? Yes. Right. But it wasn't really until that I hired a coach that was an entrepreneur that built a multi 7-figure company and on her own, that's when I was like, oh, now we're going to play. Right.
mhm,
Reason of why even the how is not people's problems, and why I do not believe in lone wolfing or anything like that, is because you know if you have a desire to be able to do something, it's usually not only self-serving. It's because we want to be more of service. So I know almost everybody that I speak to, it's like, if you had $500,000 to write a check to somebody, who would you write it to? I have a friend that just wrote a $500,000 check to his church. Like, that was his tithing Christmas bonus to his church. Like nothing. Like, it wasn't like, it was like writing a $5 check or writing a $5,000 check, right? But his whole goal was always, how do I get to give back, right? And so then he wasn't going to wait and try to figure out all, because can you imagine, right? You're becoming an entrepreneur and now you have to figure out sales, you have to figure out marketing, you have to figure out hiring, you have to figure out budgeting, you have to figure out taxes, you have to figure out write-offs, you have to figure out leadership, you have to figure, like, it's too many things. And believe me, I know a lot about a lot, and I don't want to do all the things. That's what lone wolfing is. And there's not one person in this world that can do all the things. They might think they can, but they can't. So when you really dig into that, that's when you start to realizing, oh no, I get to hire somebody to teach me how to do it efficiently, effectively, and with urgency. Right? So that I can get my goal, because I'm also 53 years old. I'm not trying to wait another 10 years for me to hit where I want to hit to. I want to do that this year. You know what I mean? So it's this quantum leap, and anybody can do it. You can do it now at 21. How old are you? 22?
21, going to be 22 in about 2 months.
Right. So if you want to retire by 30, it's like, are you really going to try to figure that out by yourself? Because the thing is that we also have, when we're battling ourselves, and we have our own limiting beliefs. We don't have anybody in our family that's taught us how to do it because they haven't done it, right? Like, no disrespect to my family, but there's not one person in my family that's built a multi-7, 8-figure business. So you can only rise to that in which you've been exposed. So if you're not exposing yourself to people who have actually become a millionaire at 30, and I can point you in the direction of some people, because one of my coaches a couple of years ago was one of those guys. He was 26 years old and sold his business that he created for $50 million. And there are legitimate people who have done things like that. You know what I mean? And so that's where you want to really go and like infuse yourself into those communities where people are actually doing the thing you want to be doing legitimately.
And that's kind of why I joined Polywork.
Yeah.
I think whatever that website's called. for that same reason, trying to connect with other people that have a mindset somewhat of a mindset like me, or something similar, like not just the podcasting, but also just kind of like what you were just talking about. Because I mean, it's obviously I can't do everything on myself. Obviously, I mean, everyone knows that, and I'm like, well, if I want to grow this, I can only do so much. Just like in real estate, I can only do so much. I mean, I can only be in one place at a time, doing so much. And I mean, to me, I guess my struggle is I struggle asking for help, because every time I wanted to ask for help, back in my family, I never got the help, and so kind of it was always looked over, like just like it went over their head. And
so again, I'm going to go back to a couple of things. Number one is, you're not helpless, right? So I really have a twitch when I hear people say, ask for help. You're not asking for help because you're not helpless. What you're asking for is support, right? So when you think about support, is I have this idea, I have this desire, I have this thing I want to do. What knowledge do you have that can support me? When you ask people for help who have never done what you're asking them to help you with, how can they help you? How can they even support you?
True.
Right. So then you can't have judgment or begrudge something that you ask somebody who has never done what you're looking to do. So it's like, oh, that now you can forgive everybody. You can even forgive yourself and say, oh, I'm not helpless. I don't need help. What I'm looking for are people who can support me in achieving my goals. And then it's like, and then you pinpoint, can you or can you not, right? It's like, okay, let me ask you, can you support me in this way? Yes or no? It's a yes or no question. They either can or they can't. right? And then that way you're not, I think that the more that we detach from the emotional, connection that we have either to people, the request, the things that we want, the outcomes that we're looking for, the results that we are not getting or getting, is the more success that you can actually build at a quicker level, because now you're in a learning mode. You're in a
Mm.
growth mindset. So you should really be going through the all of the challenges from a perspective of, I'm growing from this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I have this conversation about help and support all day, every day, because people that's the biggest thing. Like, if you're going to try to be a lone wolf and you're going to not ask for help, or you have asked for help and nobody's helped you, and then you don't ask for support, where do you think you'll be in a year? The same place.
Yeah.
Right? Same exact place. Like, there's just, it just doesn't, like, the numbers don't make sense. Like, if it was a math equation, it just wouldn't even make sense. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What we're really looking to do is say, okay, well, let me look at what, and the other thing is the comparisonitis, right? It's like, I'm not saying go out there and watch everybody that's doing everything. It's like, pick one. I deleted every big influencer for a long time, in my field, right? In the coaching and career coaching and executive coaching and women coaching and all that. I deleted because you can get caught up in watching what they're doing and then not thinking that you can go and do it because it's oversaturated. Whereas my 25 years of experience in corporate America supersedes their 3 years experience in being a career coach and never having a career. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not, again, it's not from judgment, but they've done a really great job at marketing or whatever it is that they're doing. And they have their own target market, and great that they've made the money that they've made. You know what I mean? And so we get to really hone in, well, who am I following? And then if there's nobody, then there's nobody, and you just do your own thing. Right. And until you find that person that you're like, okay, I can resonate. Because I think we're in the age of distraction, and there's just way too many, different people and different opinions. And you're asking everybody. It's like, stop asking everybody for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I had something like this happen recently with someone that I was mentoring, and, and then she's like, oh, but this person told me that, and this person told me this, and this person told me that. I'm like, well, what do you want? Like, I can't support you if I'm competing with what everybody else's experience, and you know what I mean? Like, there's no way that I can support you, because you're not even listening to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't work either.
And that's how it is. I mean, which is what I want to do. Because my family has never done anything entrepreneurial wise. My girlfriend has never done anything, and her family has never done anything entrepreneurial wise. Well, I think she has an aunt that owned a tattoo shop, but never really talked and whatnot. But I guess people, I guess I know closer, have
Yeah.
never done anything like that. So when I've explained to them, and my brother, he got his master's psychology in at UNK. He got his both bachelor's at Shadron and masters in UNK for psychology. And so he'll try to talk to me using his psychology perspective, and kind of in a way of what you were saying, but also in a way of kind of it won't, he doesn't in a way believe in me by using by using psychology, and
Is that
but
your
then
is that your interpretation?
possibly.
Yeah.
I know, like I said, I know what he could be saying. It just could be something I'm not understanding.
Yeah.
But then how he talks as well. Again, I mean,
Yeah,
he's
that's a whole, I mean, I think I would
yeah,
be cautious to bring up the family stuff
yeah, I mean,
but
and
my
but then
whole point, yeah,
yeah, and then my girlfriend obviously is more supportive on that. But again, I still see, I can kind of read it from her, kind of I support you, but just I
it,
hope it goes well.
yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing. I think it's like we number one, always, I mean, this is never intended to judge our own family or begrudge our own family at all. I think it's really a matter of people can only rise to that in which they've been exposed. And if they don't have an understanding of what you're trying to do, then maybe just don't talk to them about it, right? Like, I tell a lot of my clients now that, I have one client who's been an attorney for a really, really, really long time, and her family just doesn't understand why she doesn't want to be an attorney anymore, now, but because they don't have anybody else in their family that has become this type of an entrepreneur, which is in the coaching space and event space and things like that. And so it's like, why keep on going back to the people and telling them your dreams and your hopes and desires when they don't get it? And so of course you're going to have this feeling of like, I don't think that they really support me, but it's not that they don't, it's just that they don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So my recommendation for anything like that, for anybody who's going through something like that, is maybe stop talking to them about it.
I guess. I mean, he was. I won't say it's hard, but he was sometimes. I mean, for it being family, it's that I want family to support, but it's always hard when
Yeah, the family,
when they don't understand. And
you don't, yeah, I would say definitely not. I mean, one of the biggest memes across all of social media right now is that the people who support you are the strangers that you meet in the world. Like, it's not your family. It's
I mean, yeah, literally, not too long ago, I had this old lady that I was helping at Walmart.
You say that, old lady.
Sorry, senior citizen,
yeah.
65 plus.
Oh,
There.
ouch.
Senior citizen. There. But anywho, I mean, she was super nice. But when I was talking to her about it, she supported me more than probably any of my family. And I'm like, and how you said about your best supporters are the ones you don't know. And I'm like, she's supporting me more than my own family.
Yeah,
I'm
but
like, what?
I mean, I wouldn't, again, I would just I would forgive and release that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't hold on to that, because that's what's gonna keep you stuck. If you hold on to the fact that you're waiting for your family to support you, anybody who's listening to this that's waiting for family to support them, it's not from it's not from a judgment perspective. It's just from a lack of understanding. That's all it is. And it's like, okay, well, if you want to go prove them right or prove them wrong, go do either one of those two. Either you prove them right and you do not accomplish your goals and you fail because that's what you think that they're thinking about you, or you prove them wrong and you go and you succeed and you're like, love them anyway. That's my advice.
True. And what advice would you give? So, like, people who obviously are becoming first-time entrepreneurs and whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know how deep you would want to go into this, but when it comes to the mental state, because people can obviously, when you're doing that and you fail constantly, you think you're gonna do really, really good. You have such a great idea, and it just drops to the ground, and
prepare for failure.
To prepare for failure.
Prepare for failure. Like, prepare for failure. And preparing for failure is just, it basically just means do it anyway, do it anyway, do it anyway, do it anyway, do it anyway. And on the days that are really, really, really tough to do it anyway, take a walk, take a rest, go to sleep, call a trusted friend or mentor or coach or the community that you're in. That's why I believe, community is what's actually going to get you through the toughest parts of your battle when it comes to becoming your own boss. Because we are, on the one hand, we're creatures that are not meant to do it on our own. But on the other hand, it's like we don't want to show our failures to the world, right? But it's only in showing our failures to the world that somebody can come, and it's like a window when it's like fogged up and then you wipe it and then you can see through again. It's like, that's what happens. It's like, okay, we tried something, the window's all fogged up, we can't see. And then somebody comes and goes, oh, here you go. Like, let me clean this off for you, right? In Canada, there's this whole thing on all over social media. There's this thing of like people jumping out of their cars and cleaning off people's back windows from the snow. People who don't have like the back windshield. And so people are getting out and it's that, like, it gives me chills because that's such a great metaphor for the fact that you're driving along and then all of a sudden your windows are full of snow. They're all fogged up. And somebody just comes and says, here, now you can see again. And that's the biggest mental obstacle that you can welcome, is that, okay, I can't do it all by myself. I know that I'm going to fail. My failures are lessons, because that's all that it really is, right? So you can go back into history, like how many times, oh my God, why did I was going to use this analogy and now I forgot who. It was.
Oh,
And
it happens to me a lot. It,
the
it
light bulb.
happens to
I'm like,
me.
oh my God. Anyway, the light bulb analogy of like how many times did they invent the light? Like, did they try the light bulb and did it fail? Right? Like
Yeah,
107.
I think I've heard something like that. Yeah.
So look, Google that, the light bulb, right? You know, it's that's the part about it. It's like, know that you're gonna have days where you're gonna doubt yourself, where you're gonna feel like I'm not good enough for this, where you're gonna look at other people that are doing so much more. You're gonna be like, why not me? And imagine if you're having it in your 20s and people are out there, myself included, having that same feeling in their 50s. It doesn't matter. It's gonna happen at every level. Like I'm playing the game now of like, oh, I feel like crap. I feel like I'm like unworthy of, because you know I'm human, so I go through it. And then I'm like, oh wow, that means that I'm ready for my next big breakthrough. So
Hmm.
that's the trick for me. That's the trick that I have now is that, oh, it's hard and it hurts and it's painful and I suck and I'm failing. Wow, something big is on the other side of this because I'm learning. Like you can only, again, rise to that in which you've been exposed. If you think that everything is going to be rosy, you're sadly mistaken. Like the world isn't rosy, right? But you can make it prettier by just saying, okay, like I'm going to stub my toe. Like you don't get a bed and turn off the light and never stub your toe.
Yeah,
At some point,
it
you're going
hurts. It sucks.
to. Yeah, exactly. So that's what that's like. Right. And so again, it's like really understanding that, you know, finding community. And I, you know, I think going back to like the whole, like, I really want my, you know, for people who want their families to support them that don't understand them, you know, it's really it's a forgiveness game, right? It's like really forgiving yourself and forgiving them and not having those types of expectations. I think when you expect too much from others is when you get let down. You know, even when you expect too much from yourself, there's just it's you're not like superhuman,
Hmm.
you know? So it's like, oh, I don't even expect you know, I didn't hit my goal this year and does that mean I'm like a complete washout? No. But I didn't give up. So,
Yeah, I
you
mean, because how
know,
I am, I'm hard on myself, but the reason why I'm hard on myself is because I know I'm capable of doing it. And so, like, even if I feel like, even when I'm in that state of, well, fuck, I suck ass, this and this, like, however, it is, whatever, however it is, like, just, I guess, just having that depressing mindset of, damn, yada, 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 yada. I That's probably why I sometimes, I get it can be a little bit harder for me to get out of it because for me being hard on myself, like I'm like not when I'm being hard, I'm not like rude to myself, like, oh, you're a piece of shit, yada yada. I'm like, hey, you fucked up, but get the fuck back up. Like don't stop being. Yeah, I cuss a lot. That's how I
yeah,
talk.
so
So
it's like, woo!
if that's okay with you, I cuss a
Me
lot.
and your podcast.
But that's how
Listen,
I talk.
you
But
that you do you, boo.
that's how I talk. Um, but I know some people don't have that talk to them. Like some will completely
Oh, that
fail. Like
was the get up or the that
yeah, like hey, we know, like hey, you fucked up. This happened. Just get back up, get back on your feet. Like you got to keep walking. And there's people who don't have that, who say, well, you failed, so
yeah, I mean, I think it's a choice. Everybody has that, right? Like it's it's part of the mindset, but it's also part of the community. I think, you know, again, I can't stress enough like hiring a coach, being in a community, being in a mastermind, you know, being around people because then I think the more you realize that you're not special in that I'm not special because I'm the only one that is hard on myself. Because everybody is hard on themselves, you know what I mean? Like in that way. Like I'm
mhm,
not special that I feel like I'm, you know, I failed and I'm a loser. You're not special because of that sentiment that you're having because everybody's having that. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like you're not the only one. Sorry, like you're not the only one that's happening. And the more that you get to learn that that's happening, it's like okay, not that it feels good, not that you won't have those moments. It'll just shrink the time in which you have those moments, when you can have community and you know, people that have already been there, gone through that. And then you just start, it's lessening those moments, you know, and then it's a longer amount of time that you're just enjoying all of the good stuff.
Because how I say is life when people go through the very hard moments, no matter what the case may be, I always see it as life testing you. It's
Yeah.
testing to see how tough are you to get out of the situation. Oh, your car broke down on your way to work. Now you don't have a ride to work. You don't have money to pay the tow truck guy. Okay, are you gonna give up or are you gonna still keep walking and say, okay, this is life testing me. It's telling me, okay, if you want to be tough, if you want to get where you want to be, this is your time to toughen up. You're in a bad situation. How you get out of it?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's how I always see things. Of when, like, not too long ago, my car broke down on my
Mhm.
way to work, and I'm
Mhm.
like, well, crap. Was I sad? In a way, I was sad. I'm like, damn, this is the second time, and but I as I was here at work, and there's times I had to call in because I mean, I couldn't go to work, especially when we had that horrible storm, that winter storm we had. I was sitting down and saying, well, this sucks, but life must be teaching me,
Mhm. Yeah.
hey, this happened, but it's not because your life is ass. We're trying to make you stronger. We're trying to teach you, we're trying to build your character. Because in the end, when you get where you want to be, that's your character. And when you look at your journey, you see how your character developed.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like,
That's personal development.
yep, like because if you don't learn and build from personal development, that's where,
You die.
yeah, basically. I mean,
Mhm.
it's
If you're not growing, you're dying. So
yeah, and that's people. That's why people. And then and then I don't know if you've heard the saying of hurt people.
yeah. Mhm.
And so then that's where that saying comes from, because those people who who weren't learning, who just s- accepted failure, want others others to feel that same failure because they felt it. So they're like, well, you're not gonna get it either. So just accept the failure that I faced.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you tell people that think like that? If the ones that just accept
I mean,
failure
I
and
probably wouldn't
say,
be talking to them. So
what was that?
I probably wouldn't be talking to them
Oh,
because they would be a
true.
negative person. So I wouldn't invite that person into my sphere of influence. And I'm not even joking about that. Like, seriously, you can feel somebody's energy who's that kind of a person, right? That's always like the naysayer, or it is what it is, or, you know, woe is me, or is always in the victim mentality. I just remove myself because there's nothing that I can say at that point to somebody who has that much like negativity in their energy that is going to shift them or change them, right? I can only send them love and without judgment, just like shield myself and shield them in a bubble of love, because you know, I'm not here to fix anybody. I'm not here to convince anybody of the other side. I'm not here to argue with anybody, because the more time that I spend with somebody like that is just the lower my energy gets, and I don't really want to entertain that. And so, you know, that's why I think when we're in communities of people who are elevating, who are growing, who are doing more good things, it's like, oh, this is where I want to be because I feel better in it. And so I would really talk to the people who are trying to get this person out of their own way and say to them, is it making you feel better or worse? Right.
Mhm.
I'll also think, you know, I mean, I've had it where people have come to me in really intense situations, and I'm like, I'm not a therapist, and maybe you need to see one with all the love in my heart. Like, it's not like, I think people who really need therapy need to go get therapy. And because their doom and gloom can lead to a lot of mental health issues. And we know that even some of the people who have biggest smiles, and I don't want to go down this road because it'll be a much longer conversation to go, but I'm just saying that, like, you know, therapy is good and mental health matters, and, you know, people get to get the help that they absolutely need. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, that's some tough shit. Because, like I said, I mean, if if you would want to go that deep, because sometimes people
I,
going that deep can be hours.
That's a whole, yeah, that's a whole other
If
thing, and I have another call coming up, so I'm just like,
at two
yes,
or
yeah,
ooh, okay.
yeah, and
I guess we can try to end it either. now or at 2? I
Yeah,
mean,
whatever. I mean, we can end in
well,
a end on
not
a high
2,
note.
but you know what I mean. Because
Yeah,
we're
my
2. I'm 2
equivalent.
hours away.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
12 for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. I guess we can. I guess we can try to end it now. I mean, I'll
Last
link your website. I'll link your
Yeah.
website and your social
Actually,
media
yeah,
in the
my social
description.
media is fine. My website, I'm doing some updates to that. So just
Some
my
updates.
Instagram is perfect.
Your
Um,
Instagram.
yeah, my Instagram, I use that. That's where I am. I'm updating everything else. But, I think on the high note for anybody, whether you're starting out in your career or you're, in the middle of your career, you're kind of stuck in your career, it's really looking at like, what's the lifestyle that you want to create? Like really, truly, what's the lifestyle? And then do you believe that you can create it? Because I think even before you look at job descriptions or companies or entrepreneurship or anything, like you really have to work on your belief, right? And what habits are you doing on a daily basis that are going to bring you closer to believing that you actually can make that happen? And so, a book that I recommend to everybody is called The Compound Effect.
Compound Effect. All
The
right.
Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and he was raised by a military dad, but it really talks about how all of the little things you do on a daily basis are what's going to bring you to your ultimate goal. People think that you do something and you get this big reward, and it's really not like that. It's more like this. It's like tiny, 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 tiny little actions, and those little actions are what's building to that reward or that result that you're looking to get. So I recommend that. I think it's great for people of any age. He gives really tangible examples of how he's used it. And I think that for anybody right now who's really looking at, well, what can I do in the next 5 years? That's a great book to read.
I think I've said I heard something about like that
Yeah,
where the little in the military, something
yeah,
about starting with doing your bed in the
yeah,
morning,
yeah.
and
There's something
then
about
you
that
just
too.
go up. So you
Yeah,
just go up, but
yeah, yeah.
love to hear it. Love to hear everything. Like I said, we'll link your Instagram, and
Yep.
I guess you're gonna do updates on your
Yes.
website. So I put
Yeah.
that in.
Yes.
And,
It's okay.
um,
Yeah. You don't have to
but
forget.
I have followed you on both of my accounts, the
Awesome.
podcast and my personal.
Awesome.
I see you have like 7,000 followers, so you probably might not see me.
Oh,
Uh,
I'll go check. I'll go check.
like I said, it's Broke Boy Podcast for the
Yep.
podcast one, and then my personal one is just broke underscore boy.
Okay.
I believe
We're
if I
gonna
remember
talk about words have currency. Words have
exactly.
currency. You might want to change the broke.
Well, it's QU like
Yeah.
broke boy, so it looks fancy.
Yeah. Yeah. All
But
right.
all right,
Thank you
we
so
guess you have to
much.
go.
Yeah.
I'll upload I'll edit it, upload it,
Great.
and be sometime in January. I know that for sure. So
Awesome. Awesome. Thank
perfect.
you
And I'll
so much.
tag you on it on Instagram as well.
Yes, for sure. For sure. All right.
Perfect. All right,
Thank you so
yeah. You
much.
have a good day.
Bye.
Bye bye.